Hey, what is up, guys? This is Bo, or CarlHunga712, and I figured I'd do a little review for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Do Call of Duty videos, do Madden, play some other shooters like Battlefield and Rainbow Six, so make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Be uploading a lot of content here within the next week or two, basically talking about the beta and kind of what's the beta's done well, what the beta hasn't done well, and just kind of looking forward what the game really needs to change. So basically, this weekend, obviously, if you've pre-ordered, you get to play yesterday and today. We get to play this weekend, I believe, for free, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, next week, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation get to play. This week, of course, Xbox PC, they don't get to play since the PlayStation has the exclusive rights to Call of Duty at the moment, so maybe that'll change in the future, but unfortunately for Xbox PC guys, you only get to watch this weekend. But basically, one thing I want to talk about first to start off with, and one of the big issues I've had with the alpha and the beta so far, the maps are really poor in my opinion. Basically, we got Cartel that was added to the map. We also have Miami, Moscow, and Satellite. If I had to pick what the best map between those were, I'd probably say Moscow's the best map so far. The maps don't really have that classic Treyarch flow, that kind of three-lane simple map flow that was so good in Black Ops 1, 2, and 3. 4, they kind of got away from that, and with this game they kind of got away from it as well. You guys will see that in the gameplays that have been released. You'll see that in my gameplay, and anybody who didn't get to play it this week or might be waiting or just hasn't been able to play it, you'll see that. So the map design I think is pretty poor so far. Satellite I think is also an alright map. There's a dune area where a lot of people like to go out and snipe. Some really good head glitches out there. But that's really good for kill streaks. But Miami's it's kind of a really large map with a lot of buildings, so that becomes a problem, obviously, with flow and different things. Kind of keeps people from moving and different things. And then, of course, Cartel was added in, and you'll see that on my channel. That was my most recent upload other than this one. Basically, the middle of the map's really difficult to play. There's a lot of grass that you can hide in and lay down. There's a few other spots that you can kind of sit and hide in, which I guess, for some people they like that, for some they don't. But the map just doesn't have a really clean, crisp flow to it. Another thing I'd discussed too that's been poor in the beta thus far, I think the spawns have been pretty rough. Now, of course, people play the betas and alphas a lot differently than they'll play basically the regular mode. There'll be people just kind of playing for kills and sitting up in certain spots, which makes the game, again, not have a great flow. So I think the spawns have been a little iffy. Another thing that's been really poor that Junior and I experienced today and a little bit last night, there's been a lot of problems with the connection in the game. A lot of times we've been playing and basically you get a lot of shoot first, die first. You're basically getting melted in one bullet, it feels like, but you're putting half a clip into somebody, which again isn't really what's happening. You're dead and the game hasn't really registered yet on your side what's happening. So that's just, like I said, server issue, connection issue. There's been some problems with ghost bullets too, where I feel like I'm like 10 feet past a wall and I'm dead, because the game didn't refresh or update to show that. But that's one of the complaints I've had. Some things I've liked, as you'll see here in quick play, I think this new mode they added in, VIP Escort, is going to be a lot of fun for some players who kind of like a search and destroy type of mode. Basically, there was a mode that was identical to this in Battlefield Hardline that I loved, where you had to escort the VP basically to a couple of different drop points. So I think that's going to be interesting. For me, Domination plays all right. I mean, it plays Domination, Kill Confirm, TDM pretty much plays how you're going to expect them, so nothing there. But I'm really interested in this VIP Escort once we get some of the newer maps in here from the game, or some of the other maps. I think VIP Escort is going to be really good. Combined Arms is kind of a nice mode if you just want to sit back and you don't want to sweat. It's similar to what Ground War was in Modern Warfare this year, to a much smaller scale. The map isn't quite as big. There's fewer players on the map as well. So if you really liked Ground War and Modern Warfare, you may like Combined Arms. Like I said, it's a little different so you might not like it, but that's one of the interesting things to talk about. The graphics in the game, I think, are a step down from Modern Warfare. I think Modern Warfare was just one of the prettiest games from a graphics standpoint. It was a beautiful game. The colors, the lighting, the way the guns look, the sound engine in there, everything on that side was, I think, a step down. As you guys will see as you're playing the beta this weekend or next weekend, or when the game launches, the graphics really were a step back. The sound also, I think, was a huge step back from Modern Warfare. I think Modern Warfare would have been much better if footsteps were toned down a little bit. Footsteps are still pretty loud on this game. Also, you'll notice if you played the alpha and then you play the beta this weekend or next weekend, one of the big issues I've had with the game is everything's really loud in the game. So I don't know if that, because I know one of the big complaints, of course, in the alpha was that your footsteps were too loud. So I don't know if their idea to fix the footstep volume was to just increase the volume of everything else, but your guns are really loud, the kill streaks are really loud, the announcer's really loud, the explosions, just everything in the game is just booming in your headset, and I've actually had to really adjust the volume in this game, really tone it down, which I typically don't have to do, but I really had to do it with this game just because like I said, I have a headache after a couple of matches just with all the explosions, the gun sounds. Like I said, everything just is really loud. Kind of going next to we'll talk about score streaks because that seems to be pretty big area for most Call of Duty players. I haven't used the RCXD. I've seen a few people use it, but it's pretty much what you'd expect from a Treyarch game. Spy plane, everybody's spamming that every 10 seconds, it seems like. But it works the same way that with the counter spy plane, those are pretty common. The sentry turret, I'll say, is a good kill streak as long as nobody throws a grenade at it. Basically, one grenade pretty much shreds the sentry turret. One of your LMG classes, I think it's the RPD preset class, that'll shred the sentry turret pretty quickly. So if you can get this set up in a good spot, it will put in some work, because I've had a few matches where that's gotten me like 5 to 8 kills, which is pretty good for where it's at. But if somebody gets behind it and knifes it a couple of times, or somebody hits it with a grenade or an RPD, it'll be shredded in 2 seconds. The artillery strike is alright. I think the artillery strike will be useful in your objective-based games like Domination, or Hardpoint, or Control, or something like that. Basically, it's a lightning strike from the other Treyarch games. So basically, if you're expecting it to get you a lot of kills, it's not going to do that. It's just really good at clearing off an objective. That's basically what the artillery strike's going to be best for. Of course, the War Machine, I actually haven't used that. I just unlocked that. But if the War Machine was similar to what it was in the alpha, I think that was like one of the best kill streaks you could get, or score streaks you could get in this game. It works just like the other Call of Duties, but I think it's better in some ways. I think he had like 10 shells you could shoot out of it, or 12 shells. So you get a lot of shells you can shoot out of the War Machine, and it's just great at clearing points, or if you want to get a camper out of a room, it's really good for that. The attack helicopter is also not a terrible streak, but I've noticed when I've called it in, it gets shot down pretty quick. Like I said, I think people switch to the RPD class in their launcher classes, so they can shoot that down really quick. Some maps it seems like it gets me a lot of kills, and then other maps it's just there's no point in calling it in, so it's been kind of a waste. So that's the kill streaks we have unlocked thus far. Going over to the basically your weapon classes, you'll have to start off with your base classes, your provided for classes for a match or two, and then you'll create a class. Basically what I'll say is in my opinion, I think the weapon balancing is in a really poor spot right now. I think, honestly, the Milano 821 here, there's no point in using another weapon. This is kind of like the Vector from Ghost. It's got a similar feel to the MSMC from Black Ops 2, but much stronger than what the MSMC was. Like I said, to me it's more like the Vector, just because this gun here is like an assault rifle that handles like an SMG. It really isn't an SMG, it's a dual-all type of weapon. It basically has very little recoil. It's got a decent rate of fire, like I said, not fast, it's a little slower like the MSMC, But I mean, just you have great handling stats. Like I said, no recoil. The iron sights are pretty clean. You can run a red dot on it. There's like no downfall from the Milano 821. Like I said, the fire rate's a little slower, so if you get up really close, like with an MP5, perhaps you'll lose that gunfight. But I mean, it's just a do-it-all gun. And in my opinion, right now, there's almost no point in running an AR. I mean, sometimes on satellite, if you're sitting back, you know, you do have an advantage if you've got, you know, what is it, the Krig, the XM4, the Commando, or the M16 or something like that. But there's almost no point in using a different weapon than the Milano 821, so that's my recommendation when you guys first get in here. Okay, so the M16 is really strong, the AK-47 is strong, the XM4 is strong, but again, when you've got a submachine gun that kind of does it all, like the Milano did, similar to what the Vector did in Ghost, there's really no point running it. Sniping's still pretty strong. I've been using the Pellington 703, aka the Peloton is what I was jokingly calling it. Sniping's still pretty strong. There's very little to no flinch on sniper rifles, so if you're shooting somebody who's sniping, don't be surprised if they pop shot you in a quarter of a second with their sniper rifle, because that's one thing that needs to be worked on. I don't really care for when you aim in with the sniper rifle. I know there's no auto aim, and there hasn't been auto aim on most sniper rifles for the last X number of Call of Duties, but it's just really hard to make fine movements with the sniper rifles, and that's one thing you guys will probably notice going forward when you play the beta. So that's another thing. Pistols are still pretty strong. I've been using the 1911 quite a bit. Your shotguns are really useful on here too. Can't go wrong with using the basically the Spaz 12 or your pump shotgun here. Like I said, launchers work pretty well, and the knife is actually really good. You move obviously quite fast with it, and it has a pretty good lunge range. When it comes to your perks, Tac Mask and Flak Jacket I think are going to be two perks that are going to have probably be necessary for this because of all the grenade and stun spam. On the perk 2 slot, Assassin I think might end up being an issue. As you can see here, enemies that appear on your mini-map by shooting or when revealed by a UAV will have a crosshair indicator instead of a red dot if they were on a score streak. You receive extra score for taking them down. So this kind of marks people on the map similar in a way to kind of how Battlefield does it. So I think that'll be a really strong perk. I think right now you have to run Ghost. Obviously if there's a kill streak in the air, cold-blooded, it's going to be much more useful, but with all the UAV spam, I think Ghost is going to be absolutely required when you're playing this game, and it's a little different than, of course, Infinity Ward's games. You have to be moving, obviously, so that's one thing to take into consideration. Everybody right now is running Danger Close because that's the only wild card, which gives you double stuns and double nades, so that's one thing, again, you're going to have to be mindful in this game. But again, you know, if you want to be successful, if you haven't played the game yet or you're just getting into it, use the Milano 821. I can't remember if it's Point Man or what class it is, but there's a preset class with the Milano 821 and Ghost already as a perk. So if you're just starting out, I'd recommend just using that class, and you're going to be in a pretty good spot. The only other thing I'll talk about that I'm really disappointed with the beta, I'm not a big fan of the movement in the game, in the engine. I feel like your movement speed's pretty fast, and then when you throw the slide in there, you can really camera, you can do a lot of slide canceling, as you've probably seen in some of my gameplay and my streams that I've had. Slide canceling's back from Infinity Ward's game last year, Modern Warfare, and I think it just gives too much of an opportunity to kind of break the game in a way, and I'm not really happy with that, and I hope they kind of work on toning that down a little bit. I think once they do that and maybe adjust a few other things, I think the game will be in a much better state. Like I said, my biggest complaint, of course, is clunkiness. This game is clunky. It does not feel like a Call of Duty game. And of course, last year, you know, with the new Modern Warfare engine, you know, the game took a little time to kind of get a feel for, so I've got to play this game more, and I may change my mind and may say it's a much better and a much better place, but biggest complaint so far, clunkiness, poor maps, poor map design, and gun balancing's not in a very good spot right now. gun balancing and perk balancing. But I think if we can fix those things, and maybe when we get some of the other maps, once the game's released, I think it'll be in a much better place. But if you guys have watched this long, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the love lately on the videos, not only the Madden videos, the Call of Duty videos, the Call of Duty news and updates. So, like I said, if you haven't already, subscribe. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike. Let me know in the comment section why you liked or disliked the video too. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have a good weekend on this game, and we'll see you next video. Have a good one, guys.